The upgrades continued, but everything was for Max. This was one of the many damning things that Sergio Perez has said recently when he appeared in Oso Travas Cracks podcast. A lot of the clips from this podcast have been circulating all across Formula One internet. A lot of the things that he said, I mean, this was one of them. Let's revisit some of the other quotes that he dropped. One of the things he said was about like his conversation with Christian Horner, right? I remember when I was in my farewell with Christian, I said to him, "Hey Christian, what are you going to do when it doesn't work out with Liam?" Well, there's Yuki. "And what are you going to do when it doesn't work out?" "No, we have lots of drivers." I said to him, "Well, you're going to use them all." And he said, "Yes, I know." This is also another clip that went viral. And other thing, like the most important thing that kind of caught me by surprise was this one. If I was faster than Max, it was a problem. If I was slower than Max, it was a problem. Now the thing is, before his much anticipated return to the grid in the 2026 Formula One season, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard these statements, or rather read the translated statements, is that Sergio Perez needs to calm down. He needs to shut up a little bit. He needs to, just take it easy. 2025 was phenomenal for Sergio Perez. He sat on the sidelines, still got paid. In a previous interview, I think last year after he was signed with Cadillac or something, he appeared in some interview and he said that he still built Red Bull for 2025 because it was in his contract. But then again, he bought sponsorship, so I don't know mathematically whether he was at a profit. But regardless, in 2025, he was sitting on the sidelines. His replacements failed miserably. Max Verstappen's performance declined, so much so that he wasn't properly able to even mount a challenge for the World Championship. And his stock value rose. His stock value, Sergio Perez's importance increased in the Formula One community, in the paddock, among the teams. That's why he got the call from Cadillac, and now he is going to return to the 2026 Formula One grid with Cadillac. However, the problem is now he's just talking a lot of stuff and he's painting it as if it was not his fault at all and it was just completely Red Bull. They prioritized Max Verstappen to the T, and that's why he was just a victim of the circumstances. The upgrades continued, but everything was for Max. So from then on, I was already 2, 3 races, 4 races, 5 races behind, and I never had that car again. What would have happened? Who knows? Look, the thing is, I admit, we all do, to some degree, that the car of Red Bull was not that good, especially in the last couple of years of Sergio Perez. But at the same time, you have to admit that Sergio got spooked. He lost his mental edge after the 2023 Miami Grand Prix, and then obviously the car issues happened. They started compounding a little bit, but then also it snowballed. Let me remind you what happened in the 2023 Miami Grand Prix. So Sergio Perez, this man, started on pole position. Max Verstappen started P9. He messed up the qualifying laps. Verstappen started P9 or P10, something like that. And now, like, it was Sergio Perez's race to lose. In 2023, Red Bull's race pace was phenomenal. They were head and shoulders above everybody else on the grid. And it looked like a very clear drive ahead for Sergio Perez starting from pole position. He retained the lead until Max Verstappen overtook him. And then Verstappen won that race. From P9, he won that race. That was the big blow to Sergio Perez's ego and his mentality and his way of thinking. Because before that, Sergio was thinking that, you know what, I can take the title fight challenge to Max Verstappen, I can challenge him, and I can win. Which is a crazy thing to believe because Verstappen is the best driver on the grid. he's the best driver in the world because he's the best driver in Formula One. But after Miami, after he lost the race despite starting from pole, where Verstappen started P9, that took a toll on his mental health. After that, it was Monaco Grand Prix. Sergio Perez crashed in qualifying and he finished P16 in the race. And after that, it was just downhill. He just had multiple Q3 exits in a row. He recovered well. Like in the race, he recovered well. His performance was decent somewhat. But that was nothing compared to Verstappen's dominance in the 2023 Formula One season. And the statements that Sergio Perez is recently making himself look like the victim, like although everything was for Max. In Red Bull, if I was faster than Max, then it was a problem. Like he said it over here, if I was too fast, it was a problem because it created a very tense atmosphere at Red Bull. When he makes these type of statements, it forces Formula One fans to scrutinize Sergio Perez's time at Red Bull even more. Now, in 2023, which was the Max Verstappen season, or the Red Bull season, depending on how you look at it, another driver that kind of caught everyone's eye was Lewis Hamilton. Because Lewis Hamilton almost beat Sergio Perez to finish P2 in the driver standings. Sergio Perez finished P2 in the driver standings. Verstappen was the champion, obviously, by a country mile. Then P2, Sergio Perez. P3 was Lewis Hamilton. And the point differential between Hamilton and Sergio was not that high, as far as I can remember. And Hamilton was kind of able to put the pressure on Perez for P2 in the driver standings, and he could have gotten it. Mercedes in 2023 was a shitbox. Was kind of horrible. And Lewis just locked in and became consistent and just scored podiums and did all those things to almost beat Sergio Perez in 2023 to P2. These kind of observations that we kind of ignored back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, but now Sergio is coming out and he is like, everything was for Max, I was a victim of the circumstances, they designed the car around Max Verstappen, and if I was faster than Max, then there was some kind of animosity within the team against me, because I was kind of against him. And he also said that, in an early interview, he said that it was made for Max. He also quoted Christian Horner saying that we need the second driver just because we need to run two drivers, which is also kind of true. Red Bull kind of are Team Verstappen. But regardless, you have to stop saying it too much. Because next year, this season, not next year, we are already in 2026, in the 2026 Formula One season, Sergio Perez's teammate is Valtteri Bottas. And now, if Bottas smokes Perez, which is possible, I think Valtteri is a better driver than Sergio in some regards. Perez definitely has his strengths when it comes to tire management, when it comes to doing a lot of these things. But Valtteri is good in quali compared to Perez. And in 2026, where Cadillac is kind of like a brand new team, nobody expects them to be very competitive, fighting for top 5 spots in every race. And also on top of that, they will have a Ferrari engine. But regardless, he may have a disadvantage compared to Valtteri. And all of these statements that he is making after the best year he had in Formula One, which was 2025, in his words, is going to look bad for Perez, and all of the stocks of Sergio Perez that rose up during 2025 is going to go dip down. Down. And he himself has said that 2025, it was his best year in Formula One. He didn't race, and everyone realized how successful I was. Look, man, everyone did realize how successful you were. Credit to Sergio Perez, being Max Verstappen's teammate is not an easy job, and he did it for multiple years in a row. He helped Verstappen win his first ever world title. Without Sergio, Max wasn't going to win 2021. I'm just going to put it out there. Yes, Verstappen drove a phenomenal season. He didn't do any mistake, but if it wasn't for Sergio Perez backing up Lewis Hamilton in Abu Dhabi, I don't think Verstappen had a chance. Just saying. And also in other occasions also, Sergio Perez definitely did take points away from the Mercedes and helped Verstappen any way he could. So Sergio Perez did actually a very phenomenal job in being Verstappen's teammate compared to any other Verstappen's teammate that my memory serves. But at the same time, you have to understand that it was not all Red Bull that caused the performance decline in 2023 and 2024 Formula One season. A lot of it was Sergio Perez himself. The Red Bull was a shitbox. Somehow Verstappen drives it, and it's not like Verstappen was not complaining. Even from 2024 and 2025, Verstappen himself was complaining on the radio. When the Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda situation happened in 2025, Verstappen himself said that the car is not good and we are not doing enough to support the drivers. Changing drivers is not going to be that fruitful. He was very clear about that. And that led to the departure of Christian Horner and eventually Helmut Marko because of that mentality and attitude. Either way, the point I'm trying to make is that Perez right now needs to stay silent. He needs to become calm. He needs to shut his mouth and stay silent, because 2026 season is coming up. You're going to be in Cadillac, which probably is not going to be challenging for the championships in any type of way, especially when they have a Ferrari engine and your teammate is Valtteri Bottas, who is not that bad. If you look at Bottas's performance as Lewis Hamilton's teammate, he was kind of impressive in the sense that he was there and thereabouts. He was not massively far off. He was getting decisively beaten by Lewis Hamilton over the course of a season, of course, but there were moments of consistency from Valtteri Bottas. So in that sense, I think Sergio Perez needs to kind of like rein in his words. Stop, beating the drums. Stop kicking Red Bull when they're down, because Red Bull might make a comeback. Their engine is looking good for 2026, and Verstappen is better than ever. They have a new squad. Isaac Hadjar is going to be his new teammate. We'll see how that one works out. And Lauren Mekies is the new technical team principal. So all the good things are going on in Red Bull, and your teammate is Valtteri Bottas, who has good experience. And Valtteri was driving a good season when he was in Sauber. The car was a shitbox. That's why he didn't score any kind of points. But at the same time, his performance was good. And when Sergio is going out and making the statements that the team was against me and I was the underdog, which may be true to some extent, but people already know that. But right now it is critical for Sergio to calm down, head down, do less podcasts, and spend a lot more time on the simulator. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.